Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm going to do my top 14 picks of 2014. Now I found this a little bit harder than I thought. I had quite a few good books that I read this year. However, you know, I've looked at the stats and I have picked a range of books that all of them bar one I've given 5 stars, and the one that I haven't given 5 stars to I gave 4 stars, and it's because it was quite a new genre for me, so we'll see that when we get to it. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of the stats. This year so far, with a few weeks to go, I've read 138 books, which I'm really pleased with. I mean, that's way more than I would normally read, and that's really all down to BookTube and watching BookTubers and chatting to you about books that you like. And yeah, it's just been really great. I've really enjoyed it. I've really read more books, more good books. I found new types of books that I wouldn't have picked up before that I enjoyed. For example, Brandon Sanderson. I'd never heard of him before BookTube, and now I really enjoy his books. So thank you for that. According to Goodreads, my average rating this year was 3.84 stars, which sounds about right for me. I tend to give quite a lot of 4 stars, and in fact 51% of the books that I read this year were 4-star books, followed by 25% being 3-star books, 17% being 5-star books, and just 4% being 2-star books. I didn't have any 1-star books, and I think that's mainly because when I get to about 100 pages, if I'm really not enjoying something, I tend to just DNF it, and I just don't make a note of it. I just, you know, that's it. I just don't read it, and I can tell you if it's a book I really don't like and I haven't and I've put down, it'll be one that I remember not to pick up again. So I just sort of don't bother rating it, because I don't think it's fair to rate a book if I haven't read the whole thing. So if I DNF it, it doesn't get a rating, and for me, like a 1-star book would probably be a DNF. So yeah, I tend not to give 1 stars. So moving on to my top picks. So I've picked 14 different books, and most of them are from various genres. Firstly, and these are in no particular order, I haven't got a top book. I debated and debated and debated picking my top book of the year, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It's too much pressure. So all 14 of these are top books for me, and ones that I would definitely recommend you pick up if you like these particular genres or these particular types of books. So firstly is Game of Thrones and Storm of Swords Part 2. It's part of the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, and I thoroughly recommend reading this series. Even if you've watched some of the TV series first, I watched the first few seasons of the TV series before I thought, right, I'm going to pick up the books, and actually I felt that reinforced my imagery and the books for me, and also I already had a bit of the background, and it added all that extra layers and textures to the story for me. I have since carried on with the books and not the TV series, because now I feel like I'm really immersed into this world. I want to read the books first, and then I'll carry on with the TV series afterwards, but I thoroughly recommend these books. Next, I recommend Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I thoroughly recommend Rebel Spring. I really enjoying this. It was the first book that I have read that I instantly went to Amazon and pre-ordered the next book in the series. It's a YA fantasy book. It's very easy to get into. Some people have described it a little bit like YA Storm of Swords. It is kind of, but there's a lot less characters. However, there are, you know, 3 or 4 characters that you're following around, and it's set in sort of different parts of world, so loosely I can see where people are coming from. But the story's interesting. It's again about politics and ruling kingdoms. Again, I can see the A Song of Ice and Fire reference there. It's a really good series. I'm really enjoying it. It seems to be the year of series for me, because the third is also a series. It's the Arcana Chronicles by Cressley Cole. I am thoroughly enjoying these. I've read the first 2, which is Poison Princess and Endless Night, and again I have pre-ordered the 3rd one. This book is set well, it's pre and post-apocalyptic. So at the beginning of the story, in the first story, it is pre-apocalyptic. You meet the main protagonist, who is just a normal girl, but she's been seeing things and having visions, and she's spent a little bit of time in a a facility to help with that because she thinks there's something wrong with her. She's come back to school and then an apocalyptic event has happened, and it transpires that she is a group of young people, I think it's young people so far, that have special abilities that relate to tarot cards. So the magician is able to do certain magical things, death can touch you and kill you, and it's just a really good story. There's a love story in there and a love triangle and things like that, but it was a lot darker and more interesting than I thought it was going to be. It does have some of the usual tropes that come along with sort of this type of book, you know, where love sometimes takes a front seat in certain areas where you wish it would be more world building and story, but there's definitely some really good meaty storylines in there and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. The fourth is a Brandon Sanderson story and it is Steelheart. I loved this story. I'm not sure if it was because it was my first Brandon Sanderson and it was something totally new and exciting, but I really enjoyed the idea of heroes being the bad guys and the normal people trying to overthrow them. It was interesting, it was fun, it was fast paced, it was just what I needed, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Next is a graphic novel series and that is Saga. I don't know if many of you know this because I don't think I've talked about it very much, but I had a collection of probably over 500 to 1,000 comics and graphic novels. A few years ago, me and my husband were very into it. We went to a lot of the different conventions and we visited, you know, various places and built up our collections. We're both into totally different types of graphic novels and comics, but because of having a child has meant that we have less room because now everything is full of toys. So we decided that we weren't reading them so much. They're a lot more expensive to read. We wanted to be pickier about what we were reading. So we actually got rid of a lot of our graphic novels and we sold some of them and gave some to friends. And actually in the end, a few of them were donated to Oxfam Books. And I know that they made quite a bit of money this year from them because you get a little letter telling you. So I'm really pleased that it went to good use and to a good charity. But I have been picking up some select graphic novels. I've been trying comics via Comixology app, and if I like the first issue then I've been debating and possibly carrying it on. So there's only 2 or 3 that I'm really enjoying, but Saga is one that I have thoroughly enjoyed. It's a really good story. Just a little trigger warning, it's full of sex and violence and abuse, and there is lots and lots of different things happening within this graphic novel, so just be aware when you pick it up, it is very adult content. Number 6 is the Lunar Chronicles. Currently I've only read Cinder and Scarlet. I have got Cress on my Kindle, so I'm going to try and read that next year, but yeah, I'm loving it. It's the first fairy tale retelling that I've read in a long time that's really grabbed my attention. I thought it was really interesting. I liked the cyborg part of it, and yeah, I'm really enjoying this and how each of the stories connect with each other and the characters follow through, although maybe they're not the central characters within each story. So I'm really enjoying that and I definitely recommend picking those up. That's by Marissa Myers. Number 7 is a new adult, I believe, contemporary book, and that is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This book took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it. I was expecting to find it very cliche, very so-so, and I loved it. I downloaded the soundtrack that comes with this because it is about songwriting and the songs that they write. There have been music and songs made, so I listened to that and I found it quite a moving, emotional story actually with the music behind it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing that, and I recommend getting the music to go with it if you're reading this book. It's really worth it. Number 8 is I Am Malala. This is the story of Malala Yousafzai, who is a young girl. I believe she might be 18 now. I think she's just won the Nobel Peace Prize. She was shot in the head by the Taliban, and it's about her standing up for the rights of all to have a decent education. Next is Hate List, which is by Jennifer Brown. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I read this as part of the anti-bullying readathon this year, and it involves a high school shooting, so just, you know, beware of that if this is a trigger for you, and bullying. And it follows the aftermath of a high school shooting, and it follows the girlfriend of the shooter and how this community and these people get back to their lives and how they move forward but also learn to change because of it. and it's a really good story. I definitely recommend reading that. The Bookshop Book by Jen Campbell. This is a non-fiction book about books and bookshops, and you've probably heard me rave about it already quite recently, but I absolutely loved this book. I definitely recommend picking it up and having it on your shelf. It's got over 300 bookshops mentioned. There's author interviews talking about their favourite bookshops and books growing up for them. There's little snippets and interesting facts, and it's a really great book, so I recommend that one. Next is another graphic novel series, and that is Amulet. I've thoroughly been enjoying Amulet, and I've read all of the graphic novels that are currently out. It's a great sort of young fantasy story. It's about a group of children, misfits and unlikely strange characters all working together to fight against evil, and it's really good. Next, everyone will have heard me talk about this. In fact, I even did a giveaway about a month ago when I reached 100 subscribers, and that is the storied life of AJ Thickery, or the collected works of AJ Thickery, depending on what country you're in, by Gabrielle Zevin. I absolutely adored this book. It's brilliant. It's a heartwarming story about books, bookshops, life, community, and yeah, I can't praise this highly enough. It's not a long book, and it's definitely worth a read, and that has reached my top 14 of 2014. Next is The Bees by Lillian Paul. I loved this book. It's a science fiction story. It's set about a bee and called Flora, and it's about bees, and it's fictional, but it's based on factual ideas and how bees and the hive worked, and I just found it quite interesting, and I really enjoyed this read, especially the male bees. I thought they were very funny, interesting characters. And then last is a 4-star book for me, but it was my first journey into short stories, and I really enjoyed it. I love Margaret Atwood, and I read her book The Stone Mattress, which is a set of 9 short stories. The reason I think I gave it 4 stars was because I'm not 100% short stories are for me. I feel like I just got into the narrative and then they finish, but I did really enjoy it, and so I wanted to have a short story collection on my top 14 of 2014. So that's all of them. That's all my top 14 books of 2014. I am sure I'm going to read some more wonderful books before the end of the year, but I think I'm happy with my choices, and I hope that some of these might interest you, and maybe in the new year you'll try picking some up. Let me know what your favourite books have been this year and what you're looking forward to reading next year, and let's talk as usual in the comments and via Twitter, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Okay, bye for now, BookTube.